Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of Harry Potter Theory. In today's video, we're going to be discussing Harry Potter, the house system, and a popular what-if scenario that has been leaving fans curious for years. What if Harry Potter, the boy who lived, was sorted into Slytherin? What makes this question so compelling is that Harry is such a quintessential Gryffindor, showing his immense bravery on numerous occasions throughout the series. Furthermore, Harry being in Slytherin would presumably alter the course of the entire series. Let's dive right into it. Now, when the books first start out, Harry is just an innocent, downtrodden young man. He's trapped in the boring muggle world with no real concept of the wizarding world, and he has some of the worst adoptive parents that you could ask for. Right from the very beginning, you feel for Harry, and you can't help but think of all of the hardship that he has had to endure up to that point. When Harry starts nearing the appropriate age to start attending Hogwarts, one of the most famous magical schools in the wizarding world, he starts getting Hogwarts letters in the mail. This happens because of the Book of Admittance and Quill of Acceptance. Little did he know that when his name was first inscribed on the Book of Admittance, it would change his life forever. When the Hogwarts letters started piling in, Harry's Uncle Vernon knew exactly what was up, and vehemently disallowed Harry from opening any of the letters sent, despite them being addressed to him. Fortunately, however, Dumbledore and Hagrid are more than privy to Harry's unique circumstances, and Hagrid ends up hand-delivering the acceptance letter to Harry, ensuring that he is aware of the upcoming school year. After a brief explanation from Hagrid introing the wizarding world, Harry travels to Diagon Alley, where he picks up all of his school supplies. At first, it's overwhelming, but at the same time, it's exciting, as it indicates a new chapter in Harry's life, a chapter full of excitement and magic. What we need to remember, though, is that Harry, despite his reputation, wasn't yet a strong person. He had a rough start to his life, the only influences he had were his adoptive family, who were awful, and he must have been highly impressionable. Not before long, Harry finds himself on the Hogwarts Express, sharing a compartment with a somewhat shy yet friendly Ron Weasley. Together, the pair make a journey from platform 9 3/4 at King's Cross Station in London to Hogwarts for the very first time. However, Harry's previously tranquil and confusing first journey to Hogwarts is not without altercation. Shortly after Harry and Ron have introduced themselves, Draco, Crabbe and Goyle all burst into their compartment, curious to see if it's true that the Harry Potter is coming to Hogwarts. After insulting Ron due to his appearance, red hair, freckles, shabby looking, must be a Weasley, Draco offers what I believe is meant to be his best piece of advice, along with his outstretched hand. You'll soon find out some wizarding families are much better than others, Potter. You don't want to go making friends with the wrong sort. I can help you there. He held out his hand to shake Harry's. Of course, in the book, Harry quickly rejects this offering, with the sentence ending with, "But Harry didn't take it." But what if he had? What if, in that moment, he had hesitated ever so slightly, paused just long enough to think, well, what's the harm in keeping my options open? Who really knows who these two boys are? Who's to say that Ron Weasley would make a better ally than Draco Malfoy in this new and intimidating world I found myself thrown into? Like I stated earlier, Harry is young and massively impressionable. He was thrust into a magical world with no prior knowledge of it, and now he's being put in pressure situations where he's having to assess, on the spot, which company is right for him. But I'll also say this, Harry's willingness to accept or deny Draco's handshake does not necessarily have any bearing on what house he would end up in. It just means that things might be a bit more awkward for him once he's sorted into Slytherin, having instead chosen the friendship of someone in a rival house. However, for the sake of the video, I'm going to proceed on the basis that Harry did accept Draco's handshake, a decision that would already send him in a very different direction than the Harry we're used to. And so, instead of immediately rebuffing Draco and making an enemy, he reaches out and meets Draco's hand. Perhaps he does so while looking at the floor and even blushes a little, feeling a bit ashamed for not standing up for Ron, who had just been so nice to him. Once they reach Hogwarts and the sorting ceremony begins, Harry listens to the Sorting Hat's song, along with the rest of the students, paying special attention to the following verses. "There's nothing hidden in your head the sorting hat can't see, so try me on and I will tell you where you ought to be. Students begin to get sorted into their houses, and Harry sees Malfoy, his new and potentially only ally, become a member of Slytherin House. So what could be so bad about joining a house with someone who's offered to show him the ropes of the wizarding world? And then, as if answering this thought, when Harry is called up for his placement, the sorting hat shares, "You could be great, you know. It's all here in your head, and Slytherin will help you on the way to greatness. No doubt about that." And instead of fighting it, Harry embraces it, thinking that doesn't sound so bad. After all, Slytherin isn't inherently bad, in spite of the brush that it's painted with. From Harry's perspective, he might question why it would even be an option as a house if it was as bad as some people said. House biases are a very real thing, and it just so happened that Harry's initial friendships in the existing story were students that came from Gryffindor. Of course they were going to be pro-Gryffindor and anti-Slytherin, they're rivals. With that being said, upon the Sorting Hat's declaration that Harry was indeed a Slytherin, nothing would have been the same for him. Obviously, the first major difference would have been his friendships at Hogwarts. Hard to have best friends in Slytherin's rival house of Gryffindor, especially if you've slighted one of those people before you even really got to know them. And it's highly unlikely that Harry's new pal, Draco, would have accepted Hermione Granger, a mudblood or witch-born of Muggle parents, as acceptable company. And so, Harry would have continued to develop a friendship with Draco. This bond likely would have pushed Crabbe and Goyle out of Draco's immediate crew. Who needs bodyguards, friends, when you have the great and famous Harry Potter as your bestie? Due to Harry's interest in Quidditch, or at least his interest in being in the team, Harry may have still ended up playing the sport, but for Slytherin House. Perhaps he would have intentionally ousted Slytherin's former seeker, Terence Higgs, in his first year at Hogwarts, fueled by his developing maliciousness. Or maybe he would have waited until Lucius Malfoy, Draco's dear dad, donated enough Nimbus 2001 broomsticks to the entire Slytherin Quidditch team in their second year, resulting in both Harry and Draco being welcomed onto the team. Harry and Draco may have fought over who played Seeker, but something tells me Harry would have earned the role, being the talented and famous Harry Potter. In either case, I think Harry would have still been enthusiastic about the game of Quidditch, just on a different team. And so, similarly to his friendships, Harry's other relationships also would have been affected, most notably his mentors. Instead of Albus Dumbledore, Hogwarts headmaster, the obvious choice would have been the head of Slytherin House, Severus Snape. With Harry's placement in Slytherin rather than Gryffindor, perhaps Snape would have sooner revealed his past connection with Harry's mother Lily, and seen less of a resemblance between Harry and his dad James, who was of course a Gryffindor. With Snape as Harry's mentor, there would have been little reason for Dumbledore to get so involved in Harry's life and progression through Hogwarts, as he already would have had the guidance of Severus. And with Draco openly referring to the likes of Hagrid as riffraff, it would have been unlikely that Harry pursued any further interactions with the lowly school gamekeeper. Harry's love interests and romantic inclinations would have also been impacted. Hard to see him firing up a romance with Ginny Weasley after so many years of bad blood between Harry and Ron, which would have been a direct result of the handshake with Draco. I guess it's possible that he may have still had a relationship with Ravenclaw's Cho Chang, but something tells me that this version of Harry would have been more interested in someone a little less kind and a little more ruthless, like, say, Pansy Parkinson, leader of a gang of girls from Slytherin House who were often associated with Draco and his crew. It stands to reason that Pansy, who is seen to be romantically linked to, or at least interested in, Draco throughout the series, may have even become involved in a love triangle between Malfoy and Harry. If Harry had been a suitor, perhaps he would have been the one to take Pansy to the Yule Ball in the Goblet of Fire, not Draco. From there, who knows what might have happened. I think that if Harry was sorted into Slytherin, there's a large chance that he could have adopted the role that Draco plays in each of the books, replacing Malfoy as the villain. As an orphan who lost his parents at such a young age, and who was badly mistreated by his extended family for his entire childhood, it really doesn't seem that far-fetched that Harry could have become this series' antagonist, rather than its protagonist. Can't you just see it? A malicious version of Harry replacing Draco in each of Malfoy's scenes? Perhaps he would have even been the one sought out by Voldemort to assassinate Dumbledore. Which begs the question, if Harry had become the villain, Who would have carried out the adventures of Harry Potter? Who would have stopped Professor Quirrell/Voldemort from getting the Philosopher's Stone? Who would have overshadowed Cedric Diggory in the Triwizard Tournament? And who would have hunted down Voldemort's Horcruxes alongside Ron and Hermione? Flipping the switch entirely, I think that another what-if outcome from Harry being sorted into Slytherin is that he influenced Slytherin House for the better, leaving a positive impression onto Draco, Quirrell, Crabbe, and all of the other Slytherins who embraced him. We see Harry grow up with an intense rivalry with Draco, but who's to say that if he had grown up alongside him, some of Harry's innate positive traits couldn't have rubbed off on him? Maybe Harry's nature and sorting into Slytherin could have resulted in a more unified Hogwarts. If you want, I'll elaborate on that what-if scenario in another video. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you enjoyed the content, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, remember, you're a wizard, Harry.